If I told you that I was once expected to become paralyzed, would you believe it just by looking at me now? Other kids grew up running. I grew up gritting my teeth just to walk. When I was a child, around the third grade, I got a strange illness. The six joints in my legs, my ankles, knees, and hips felt like they were being pierced by 1,000 arrows every time I took a step. My family took me to the hospital once. The doctor gave me some herbal medicine and told me to apply hot compresses. It didn't help at all. Soon they lost patience and never took me back to the hospital again. They didn't even ask the doctor for a note to excuse me from PE class. So every day I still had to attend PE with that unbearable pain. Sometimes I'd get knocked down and thrown onto the dirt like a leaf in the wind. But I barely felt the pain in my muscles because compared to the pain in my six joints, nothing else really hurt. After school, the way I walked looked very strange. My upper body leaned forward almost 60 degrees with my butt sticking out behind me to take some of the pain off my legs. The kids in my neighborhood laughed at the way I walked. To get away from them, I sometimes walked in even stranger ways. My school was less than 300 meters from my home, but to me it felt like a journey that lasted a century. I walked that 300-meter roads for years. When I got home, my mother didn't care about my pain. My sister only corrected the way I walked. When they talked about my legs, they calmly said I would either end up bedridden or walking with crutches. But I was a girl who cared about how I looked. I couldn't accept becoming disabled. So every day I clenched my teeth and walked to school. When the pain was unbearable, I would hold down the wall along the street and move forward slowly. And then, after a few years, the illness disappeared almost like a miracle. I could run like a healthy child again, as if it had never happened. Many years later, when I was an adult, one day at Tiananmen Square, a girl on crutches asked me for directions. She was the same age as me and came from Guangzhou. She had the exact same illness I once had. The difference was that her family took her illness very seriously. They even took her to Hong Kong for treatment. She went through several surgeries, and each surgery removed a piece of her leg. She used to be 1.8 meters tall, but she had been reduced to about 1.6 meters. That time she had come to Beijing for more treatment. When I met her, she had just arrived by train. The station was close to Tiananmen Square, so she decided to walk around the square first. After that, she planned to take a bus to stay with relatives in Beijing. I rode the bus with her and walked with her to her relatives' apartment complex. I walked upstairs with her and didn't leave until someone opened the door. This is a true story. I was that little girl who once had to hold on to walls just to walk. Today, I live in the United States in a beautiful neighborhood in a big house. But my childhood was one without love from my parents. In my memory, no matter how much I cried, I could never get a hug from my mother. At school, I was bullied by classmates, and at home, I was bullied by my siblings. No one ever stood up for me. I had to swallow all my tears by myself, even with pain like 1,000 arrows in my body. I could only keep walking while holding on to a wall. The girl with the same illness was protected fiercely by her parents, and I was left alone in the wilderness of life. She had the best medical care and her parents' hands supporting her. I only had a wall to hold on to. She grew up protected by love. I grew up pushed forward by feet. She was given the destiny of disability, and after all that pain, I somehow recovered. So, which one of us was more unfortunate? The conclusion is a cruel one. Not every kind of luck turns into happiness. Sometimes too much protection can limit resilience of life. And sometimes extreme hardship forces life to create its most unbelievable miracles. For some people, things like a mother's love and a comfortable life and timely medical care are ordinary, but for others, they are luxuries beyond imagination. And when you receive those gifts, you may not realize that the goddess of fate has already quietly written the price.